This is the first time we are podcasting here in 2026. As always, I am Mason. He is Gautham. And we've got some making up to do. So, Gautham, how have you been for 2 months?
Yeah, I promise I didn't just like go into a slumber for the last 2 months, and I'm waking up now, and lots of baseball things have happened. But no, definitely been keeping close tabs on everything that's been going on, but have not been able to share with the public our thoughts on those things. But I'm excited to kick off our 2026 for podcasting, and Getaway Day Pod is back.
Now, I have been hibernating for 2 months, so
Uh,
I'm clueless. And we're just going to start there and just get into it. So, we're obviously not going to be able to talk about every single thing that has happened since we recorded with Ryan in mid December. So, we're going to basically take the next couple weeks and I guess do that slowly. And so today, we're actually going to talk about 3 of the teams that have made the most roster changes. Because, I mean, that's a pretty good way to cover a lot of free agents and trades if you look at the 3 with the most turnover. So, Gautham, you have listed here for me 3 clubs. Those are the Orioles, the Mets, and the Rockies. So we're hitting 3 different divisions. And we've got all kinds of players to talk about here. So let me first hear your thoughts on how you arrived at these 3 teams. Was it sheerly the percentage of roster that is returning?
So my methodology was to look through roster resource, and obviously we're what 5 6 weeks out from opening day, but roster resource always keeps their projected rosters for opening day up to date. And I went through all 30 teams, and I didn't necessarily pick the team that had the most roster turnover, but I was specifically looking for teams that made the most impact moves and also made like a sheer number of roster turnover moves from last year. So basically looking at guys that have been acquired since the end of the 2025 season. So whether that be through free agency, trade, Rule 5 draft, whatever it may be. And that's how it came across these 3 teams, the Orioles, the Mets, and the Rockies. And they're all kind of like in sort of different parts of the winning cycle, where the Mets are like clearly all in. They're trying to win the World Series this year. The Orioles are kind of there too. And then with the Rockies more in a rebuild mode, they've got a similar number of players that actually have changed since last year, around like 8 to 10 new faces on these teams. So I thought, since you've been sleeping for the last 2 months, this is the right place to wake you up, and you might have some questions. You might be surprised by what you're gonna find here.
I
I
won't
think
lie. I'm looking at
this
a
will be
couple of
fun.
the names here, and I was a little surprised by some of these. So
Absolutely, yeah.
now some of them I knew because I haven't really been hibernating. I've just kind of turned my brain off a little bit. So I know some things. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
completely clueless.
I know
Um,
you sleeping is better than like a lot of people, so that
Me
helps.
sleeping still takes in more baseball knowledge than just your casual fan awake.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no question.
all right. So, which team would you like to start with here?
I think we got to start with the Orioles, because the Orioles, on paper, it seems like they've made the most number of moves that are like high impact. You could argue the Mets are that team too, but they sent out a lot of players that kind of were high profile. So they've had a very interesting offseason. But I think the Orioles is probably the place to start.
That's fair. And so, I think to do this, I kind of want to just remind everybody generally our thoughts on the Orioles last year. So, I know that I haven't gone back and listened to it, but I know for a fact I was a massive hater on the Orioles pitching staff. That was the spot where I thought that they needed to do the most. Um, and then early on in this offseason, I believe we've already talked about this, they actually traded Grayson Rodriguez, who was kind of like the only legit guy they had in their rotation, in my opinion. So this club is, they have to do something big here to impress me. Their lineup was young. It had some really highly talented players. 2 years ago, they they performed really well. Last year, they underperformed. So that is the 2025 kind of a reminder of the Orioles. So from there,
I'll just add one more quick thing on there with injury luck. They were hit bad by injuries last year, and that's part of the story, especially on the position player side. I think like they had a whole bunch of guys like Rutschman got hurt early in the season, and he never really bounced back, and that was in I think May. So there were a lot of examples like that. So it was like a combination of underperformance, injury, not enough pitching depth that tanked their season. And I believe they finished in last place, right?
yes, they did. Now, also with injury luck, I would like to point out that they're starting the year with 4 guys on the IL. Jackson Holiday, who broke his hamate bone and just had surgery on it here about a week and a half ago, I believe. Jordan Westberg with a partially torn elbow ligament. Felix Bautista is still out. I don't know when he's returning.
He's probably not returning this year
at all.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Torn labrum in August.
Yep.
Okay. And then Colin Selby, who has shoulder inflammation right now, but is being put on the 60-day IL. So they are already starting with 4 players on the injured list. So the 2 guys who I think are most critical there are Jackson Holiday, their starting second baseman, and Jordan Westberg, who kind of plays a little bit of second, but mostly third base. So how do the Orioles fix that? Well,
yeah, and I was gonna say like their infield was supposed to be a strength, and as you're stating here, they're already in the hole because 2 of their key infielders are hurt, and now they're leaning on Blaze Alexander, who was a trade acquisition this winter to fill a starting spot, at least for the beginning part of the season. We don't know when Westberg's going to return. He potentially could miss the season if he ends up having the UCL surgery, but for right now, he's at least out through April while they figure out what's going on or what the course of action is. And then, yeah, like you mentioned with Holiday, like he's going to be out for probably the start of the season, if not,
probably through April would be my guess.
I don't think so because he got injured so early. It's kind of like a 6-week injury, so he should be okay to be available near the beginning of the season.
Okay, but he won't be there for opening day, which is kind of a key point there, and you never know how that's going to heal, especially something with your hand. For a hitter, that's a big problem, because like we saw with Spencer Steer. No, not Spencer Steer. Sorry. Jonathan India, when he was a prospect. He hurt his wrist, ended up losing basically all of his power, came up, was not playing great when he was a rookie, and then a year after returning, he started to kind of break out and be the guy that everyone thought he was going to be. So, like, hand injuries are no joke, especially for an infielder, a hitter. So that could potentially cause some problems for this team in the future of this season. So how do you replace that? You already said that you get Blaze Alexander to come in and play a little bit. They also short up first base with Pete Alonso. So that's going to help
Mhm.
replace some of the lost offense there because that is a lot of power. And Pete wasted no time in spring showing why they got him. I think it was the sixth inning, seventh inning of the very
It was
first
his third
spring
at
training
bat.
game against the Yankees. Hanging slider, he puts it over the fence for 2 runs. So Pete is definitely going to be a massive part of this club this year and for the next couple years to come. So now we've got first base and we've got shortstop. Those two are fully locked in. You've got Adley back and healthy, and Samuel Basayo. So you've got two catchers, which I would assume one of them will DH and the other will catch, and they will probably alternate, sort of thing, is kind of what I'm expecting.
Yeah, I think so. With Basayo getting the extension last year, he's basically locked into a role. So they're gonna find ways to get him in the lineup. Probably gonna be good for Rutschman to get more DH at bats, get get Basayo back behind the plate too. And he's a very interesting prospect because he tore through the minors. He's extremely young. I think he's 21. Um, he really could be a superstar catcher if he's able to play that position because his power is unreal. Um, it's gonna be cool if Alonso and Basayo are hitting bombs in that lineup.
Yeah, and they've got a couple other guys in this roster that can hit some bombs. He's probably not going to be a starting outfielder this year because of some of these other moves we're about to talk about. But Tyler O'Neill can definitely hit a bomb here and there. Um, you've Adley's got some pop, Gunner's got some pop, so there's going to be some homers to go around for the Orioles this year. The One of their big pickups this year, and it doesn't really help with the infield so much, except for the fact that it takes up one of those outfield spots. And so some of these young guys that the Orioles have, like Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, Dylan Beavers, that can play multiple positions, they're now being kind of geared into one spot of the field. And that guy that's taking up that outfield spot permanently is Taylor Ward, traded to the Orioles from the Angels for Grayson Rodriguez. Correct?
Yep.
And Taylor Ward, another homer guy.
Yeah.
So, and they're bringing in the outfield or the fence again, aren't they? Or did they do that last year?
They've already done that, so I
Okay.
think now they're trying to reap the benefits of it because, yeah, I mean, the guys they brought in they're clearly targeting power with Ward, Alonso, and then some of the other guys that are now kind of starting to make their impact with like Mayo and Basayo that are more power oriented than some of the other guys that have debuted earlier.
All right. Um, but yeah,
But now it's time to
so
talk about pitching, right?
yes. I was gonna say so that pretty well shores up a lot of the lineup. Now, as I mentioned, Dylan Beavers, Kobe Mayo, they're gonna play. Mayo's gonna be in the infield most likely. Beavers and Cowser will be your other outfielders. Those guys, depending on how they're playing, when Westberg comes back, when Holiday comes back, pieces are gonna have to move around because they have a lot of depth, but that means that there's not enough spots for everyone on the roster. So,
These things tend to have a way of working themselves out. I mean, they already have 2 injuries, there could be more to follow.
yeah.
Guys will
And
play better, guys will play worse. Well, it'll work itself out.
yeah. But yeah, you're exactly right though. Pitching is what I was concerned about last year. It's what I was concerned about coming into this year, and that's where they've done a lot of work. So, talk us through what they did with their pitching staff.
Yeah, so you were throwing mad shade at this rotation. You have been throughout this offseason. And I think you got to give some credit to the guys that were already in place that are in the rotation that have been on the team in Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, and Zach Eflin, who actually they they re-signed as a free agent, but he was already on the team. Um,
None of those
those three
three
guys,
are
like,
none of those three are the one that I actually kind of respect a little bit.
what?
Dean Kremer.
Wow.
I I I kind of like Dean Kremer.
Okay, Dean Kramer's like a number 6 on like every team in the league.
Yeah, but I still kind of like
But
him, and he's been there the longest.
well, what Trevor Rogers did down the stretch was pretty amazing. He's probably not going to do that again, but I mean, he had an ERA under 2. Um, it's not totally backed up by all the peripherals, but also Kyle Bradish is before his injury, he was looking like one of the top pitchers in the American League. Kind of came back at the end of the last year and looked pretty good. Um, and then Zach Eflin, we know, has been a very solid pitcher for a while. He's not an ace, but he's kind of a solid mid rotation guy. And then they go out and they make additions, and they made two key additions. The first one's pretty clear and obvious. Like there's not a lot to talk about with Chris Bassett. He's reliable. He's been doing it for a long time. He's very consistent from year to year, and he gives them innings. He gives them a floor. So that's always going to be a solid move for any team. Like Chris Bassett could have fit on just about any team in the league, and they would have been happy with that as kind of an upgrade. Especially with the Orioles, it's a clear upgrade over the options they had. But then the one move that is going to make or break the season, it kind of feels like, is what they can do with Shane Baz. Because Shane Baz has the potential to be a front of rotation, top of rotation kind of guy. He was a top prospect for the Rays for many years. Finally debuted, and it has been a struggle. He's faced injuries. He also has not performed up to the level that he was doing in the minors. But I feel like all the talent is still there, and he's still young enough to put this all together. And it's kind of like make or break time now for Shane Baz.
Yeah, he didn't really get very much leave or very much runway with Tampa, um, which is a little. It feels a little odd to me because Tampa feels like one of those teams that could have that should have been able to unlock everything out of him. He did spend a year out with injury, with I believe Tommy John in 2023. Um,
Yep.
and he has played in the majors in parts of 4 seasons, going back to 2021, where he made 3 starts. He made 6 starts in 2022. Then he did finally get a little bit of time in 24, where he pitched 14 games, 80 innings. And last year was his first time fully in the rotation, where he got 31 starts for 166 innings. And his ERA was less than stellar, at a lofty 4.87. So it kind of feels like they just, I don't know, he was dealing with injuries, but never really got a lot of runway. The first time he doesn't perform up to the Rays' expectations, and then they go ahead and trade him. Although they didn't trade him for nothing, they traded him for Caden Bodine, along with 2 other players and a draft pick. So
I thought it was like 5 players.
It
It was
was.
a huge return.
I can tell you exactly what it was. It was Caden Bodine, Slater DeBrun, Michael Forrest, Austin Overn, and a draft pick.
So it was essentially
the
like
33rd pick.
it was like 2 top 2024 picks, 2 top 25 picks, and a draft pick.
26 draft pick that is number 33 in the draft. So basically an extra first rounder.
Yeah, so clearly the Orioles value this guy highly because it was not like a dump trade. It was, hey, we got to give up real capital of highly talented young prospects to get this guy for. They do have Shane Baz for what, 2 seasons or 3 seasons?
I think it
So
is
part of it.
see. Boz is just under 4 years of service time by like a day.
Okay, so a couple more years. So
Yeah.
no, 3 more years then. Okay.
I think 3, yeah. Because he's at
Yeah.
3.158. So,
Yeah. So, yeah, it's very tough to get these guys, and the Orioles know that better than anyone. That you can't find top rotation guys that are in arbitration that are available, and when you find them, you have to give up five players and picks.
yeah. Which,
So, how are you feeling about the Orioles rotation now?
better. I still don't know that I would say great because, like, I don't really have a whole lot of guys here that I dislike. This is not the same as last year's rotation where they were rocking out Charlie Morton at age 43 or 44, whatever it was. And just a whole bunch of oft injured guys bringing in just any cast offs from anywhere. This is a legitimate rotation of legitimate, still good pitchers. Do I think it's an incredible rotation? No, I don't. It's definitely not the best in their division, but it doesn't have to be. As long as their lineup can hit, their bullpen can actually relieve and not blow games, which that's where another couple of big acquisitions were for him was in the bullpen. Namely going out and signing Ryan Helsley as a free agent. Helsley struggled a bit last year, wasn't converting all of his saves, definitely didn't play well when he was with the Mets, but this is a guy that can go out there and pump 103 regularly. And so I anticipate Helsley still being a productive member of this bullpen. They also added Andrew Kittredge. I believe they added... What?
No, I was just going to say they traded for him back after they had just traded him at the trade deadline.
Oh, lol.
Yeah.
But I think those are the only two new guys for this year. But they still have Yenyer Cano. They still have Keegan Aiken. I think this is a bullpen that will be able to keep them in some games.
Yeah, it feels solid.
So I
They
definitely
need them, right? Because
What?
the rotation, well, I don't know. Maybe the rotation can give them more innings than Charlie Morton could. Because I feel like think about like Chris Bassett and Zach Eflin. Those guys like they can go 6-7 innings in games.
Yeah, those are the only two that I look at, and I think that they're maybe going to be like length arms.
Yep.
Rogers, I wouldn't really expect to see him after the 6th most of the time. Shane Boz he could be that guy that goes out there and gives you 7+ every game. But so far we haven't seen that from him. Dean Kremer has never been that guy. He's basically a 5 and done sort of guy. So yeah, they're going to need a deep bullpen. Eflin and Bassett might be able to help save them every couple days, but they're still going to need a deep bullpen for this season.
Yep.
So I guess overall, how do you feel about the Orioles? Are they a last place team, like for sure, like they were last year, or
No,
do you think they have a lot better shot?
I think they have a lot better shot. I definitely like the additions that they've made to the offense. I think Taylor Ward he remains kind of an underrated player. He hit like 36 home runs last year. He's solid. He helps the team. Alonso's a nice signing, and I think there's intangible benefits of him being a member of this team too, just because he seems like to me the kind of player that he's so like invested in the team and winning. I think that could be very valuable for this very young team to
Yeah.
give them guidance on how to deal with the pennant push.
Yeah, and I
The
think
pitching.
it'll especially help in that division because Pete may not have played in a division that's quite as uh,
What do you mean? He played in a stellar division, and he played very
it
competitive,
wasn't a 5 team
like
deep division.
yeah, but it's one of the better divisions, I'd
It
say. So
it
he knows
is,
what it's like.
but my point was going to be it's not so much the division he played in, it's the city he played in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like it doesn't matter if you're in Yankee pinstripes or Mets pinstripes. If you're in New York, the expectations are insane. And so Pete coming in, even though he was in the, I guess, weaker of the two Eastern divisions, that's going to be a massive, massive boon to guys like the Milkman, like Jackson Holiday. Even Gunner is still under 25 years old. Like, and he's had an amazing season followed by a very not amazing first half and then kind of came back. So like these guys need that kind of support. Taylor Ward is definitely one of those veterans you want to have, but he's not necessarily the how do you play in the spotlight vet.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not.
So
But I was trying to like make the case for their pitching. I will kind of hedge by saying that I'm also still concerned about their pitching, especially their depth, because um, you got like Rogers. I mean, just looking down the list, Rogers, Bradish, Boz, Eflin have all had kind of extensive and recent injury history. When you get past these six starters, like who do you have? You got Cade Povich. I mean, it's not good.
Cade
So
Povich and
I'm
Brandon
concerned.
Young are the only two other starters on the 40 man. They have a lot of non roster invitees to camp right now, including Albert Suarez, who they just re signed out of the, well, like, they re signed him out of their organization. Um, but yeah, none of these NRI guys are big prospects by any means. There's a single guy who was a fourth round or higher pick in the draft, which doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good or bad, but like they don't have any top prospects on the pitching side. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with this club. You're right. Injuries are going to be probably their biggest concern, I think. I guess Trey Gibson is their biggest pitching prospect, and he is one of these non-roster invitee guys. So maybe I didn't give him quite as much
Still not
credit as I should
comfortable
have, but because
with this
he was an
group.
undrafted guy, and he's their number 2 prospect.
Okay, I don't
So
know anything about him.
he's apparently a future value 50.
Okay.
So I don't know what that means, but sure, let's go with it. All right. Well, so that's the Orioles. We just talked a lot about Pete Alonso. So clearly we should talk about Pete Alonso, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
the New York Pete Alonsos have not re-signed their namesake.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I truly do not. I think that was probably one of the biggest mistakes that Steve Cohen has made in his early ownership of the Mets. But he's now gone. So the Mets are clearly going to implode. They're not going to do anything. They're going to be the lull Mets of old, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there was a week there in the early off season where the Mets lost Pete Alonso to the
Edwin
Orioles, and
Diaz.
then they lost Edwin Diaz just days later to the Dodgers. So they basically lose their one of their faces of the franchise, and then they lose one of the best closers in baseball in the span of 2 days, and they lose them to the Dodgers too. So that kind of adds salt to the wound. Um, but then then that's where we kind of get the lesson, like you can't just judge the offseason at some random point in December. You got to wait till spring training or later even to really see what David Stearns has done.
I mean,
He's
Lucas
gone out and
Giolito's
made
not even on a team yet.
Exactly. I mean, there's
We
plenty of
can't
free
judge a
agents to sign.
postseason until in off season until Giolito is on a team,
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
want him to sign to the Cardinals.
Okay.
Sorry, that's an aside that was unnecessary.
I think this offseason has been just wild, and the way they've reshaped the roster, they clearly felt like they needed to do something to shake up this entire organization, really, because the moves they've made to, I mean, first off, moving on from Alonso, losing Diaz, they also traded Brandon Nimmo to Texas. It's weird to say, but he's like kind of a all-time Met great just because of his longevity. And he had, I believe he has like 5 more years on his contract.
Yeah,
So that was just an out of the blue move. He had a no trade clause as well. I was reading today that Texas was actually the folks that initiated that. It wasn't like the Mets necessarily wanted to move on um, from Brandon Nimmo, but when approached with the deal, um, they made it work, and Brandon Nimmo had to approve it because he has the no trade clause. But that was what they did early on in the offseason by trading Nimmo for Marcus Simeon, who's kind of another veteran, but he's almost on the downside of his career. So it seemed a little bit odd that they would make that kind of move. They also traded Jeff McNeil away, who was part of their core for the last several years.
and then they traded Luis Angel Acuna.
Yes.
Their other second baseman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they made a lot of moves, basically moving on from all of their second basemen to go in on Simeon with this trade. I do think that it's like you mentioned, like they didn't really seem like they necessarily wanted to move on from Nimmo, but I think this is maybe a blessing in disguise because it gives an opportunity for one of their top prospects, Carson Benj, to come up, and he's projected to take the right field spot out of camp. Which you may be thinking, well, right field is Juan Soto. No. Now that Nimmo's gone, they're going to put Juan Soto in the position that he should always have been in, which is left field. So, and moving on from Luis Angel Acuna, second baseman and center fielder, more importantly for this club, well, they have an unproven prospect out in right. They have Juan Soto in left. This is potentially an abysmal outfield. So they go and trade for Luis Robert, a guy who, quite frankly, is probably at the lowest his trade value could have been when they traded for him. But the upside with Robert is very, very good.
Yeah, and center field's been a problem for the Mets for going back for kind of a while, where they just have not really had a guy that has been able to do that job. They've failed in like the attempts that they've made to fill the spot, and this is like another. It kind of feels a little bit like last ditch, but yes, I see the upside in Robert for sure.
Yeah, and I mean defensively, Robert's really good. Like even when his bat sucks, he is a really good center fielder. And so that is kind of I think that's the thought is our lineup now is kind of stacked. Like you've got Lindor.
We didn't even mention the big signing, right? We haven't even mentioned the big signing.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't. But like, this is how I'll do that then. Like their lineup is stacked. If Luis Robert Jr. ends up being the second worst hitter on this team behind Brett Beatty, that's okay. Because you have Lindor, Soto, Bo Bichette, Jorge Polanco, Simeon, Francisco Alvarez, who is as far as catchers are concerned, a very, very good hitter. He's got a lot of power. As long as he can make contact, that thing's going to go far. So this is a team that you don't really have too many guys where you go, that's an automatic out. And so trading for Robert for his defense and his potential upside, I think, is a very smart move for this club.
Yeah, no, it's a good point because yeah, right now roster resource says that Luis Robert is going to hit eighth for the Mets, and he's been the centerpiece of the White Sox offense for a while now. But now he gets to kind of lay low. Nobody really has high expectations for him because he's been so bad the last couple of years. Now it's like his time to just reap the benefits of a good lineup and rebuild his value basically.
And
And he's heading into a situation. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he's been bad in an even worse situation, to where I think that kind of compounded into him being as bad as he's been the last couple of years. So I think him just moving to a different culture in an organization is probably going to help revitalize his bat quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So what do you think about the Bichette signing? Because at first it seemed really odd to me that you would. One of their stated goals, was to improve their defense. Simeon, that's clear why you do that. He's a Gold Glover, makes sense. But you get Bo Bichette, who kind of he wasn't a great shortstop. He was never going to play shortstop for this team, anyways. He's playing a new position, so if you got an issue, and they kind of had a couple other third basemen on the roster. So
yeah, but their other third baseman, there's only one of them that I think was maybe could have taken it and ran with it long term, and that's Mark Vientos. I really don't
Beatty's
think
a third baseman too.
Yeah, but I really don't think Beatty is the type of guy that was going to be able to run with it. He's obviously major league level talent. I don't think he's the weak link on that club, is basically what I'm saying. I do think Vientos is the better third baseman, at least from an offensive standpoint. Which, if they're trying to improve their defense, maybe you DH Bichette and have Beatty play third. But I think that's one of those that Bo wants to play the field, so Bo's going to play the field. Why they're not going to have Simeon play third, I don't know. Seems to me that would have been the smarter move, because I feel like he could do more at the hot corner than Bo could do at really any position. So put Bo at second.
Maybe it will be fine. Like, maybe be fine with Bichette at third. But
well, I'm still a little bit worried about. I'm still a little bit worried about his mobility. With the knee injuries last year, you saw him in the postseason. He was station to station because he just could not get around the field on that bum knee. And so unless that's healed phenomenally, I think he's going to be at risk of just aggravating that a lot playing third base.
That's not going to be better at second, though. That's going to be worse at second.
Yeah, that's fair, but he's also not got the strongest arm, does he?
I know he doesn't. He has one of the weakest arms for a shortstop.
Yeah,
maybe that's okay.
So putting him at second, where he has to throw it 50 less feet, seems like a good idea.
Well, okay, but what you're proposing, I think, is even worse, because then you got three infielders that are playing positions that they've never played in their career. If you move Simeon to third, you move Bichette to second, and you move Polanco to first.
Polanco's never played first?
No, then that's why, like, to me, the whole like improve the defense thing is odd.
Well, then why don't we have Bo play first?
Anybody can play any position on this team.
Yeah, Bo would probably have the easiest time playing first. He doesn't have to move. Yeah. He just has to hit the ball.
Yeah.
And then Polanco,
Polanco has played third, but he was so bad there that they had to move him to second with Seattle.
All right, so then make Simeon be the only guy that learns a new position. Put him at third.
I feel like
Well, I
I
guess
feel like
Bo
he's
would
the
also be
gold
learning
glover
a
at
new
the
position, but
position.
he's just a backstop, is all he is.
Yeah. All this uh, weird conversation to say the Mets defense is probably not going to be that good
Oh
on
no,
it,
it's going to
like
be
at
bad,
all.
but they're going to hit really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Honestly, it's going to be kind of like the Yankees.
or like the Phillies of like several years ago, where they just were supposed to out hit everybody and not necessarily care about the defense as much.
Yeah. Hmm.
But
But
other additions that the Mets made, they added a front of rotation starter, Freddie Peralta, and I think that's a huge help because for a while the Mets have just kind of been doing it David Stern style, which is never sign a big free agent starter, don't sign Framber Valdez, don't do any of this, but they sort of remedied their situation by adding Freddie in a trade, and he's a guy that is coming off a phenomenal season. He's been one of the most durable and productive starters in the big leagues for several years now. And he makes this look a lot better when you push everybody down a slot. You've got pitching prospects that are near big league ready too.
yeah, I was going to say, like, Nolan McLean slotting in is the number 2. Jonah Tong is also a very good prospect for the Mets.
Yep.
He's probably going to be the first man in if there's an injury to this rotation. And then I think they even have is it Brandon Sproat after that.
Brandon Sproat got traded for Freddie Peralta.
Oh, so no.
No, they don't have that guy
All
anymore.
right. Yeah, I'm the list I've got is still the 2025 top prospects, so didn't really reflect that. Oops. Um, but yeah, they've got a lot of depth. Is I think
Yeah.
the point here, which is I don't want to say new for the Mets because they've had like depth. They've just not had depth with top end.
Yeah, no, I feel good about the pitching a lot better with Freddie Peralta at the helm there. And then I want to make a bold statement. I think that Devin Williams is going to have a better season than Edwin Diaz this year. And I think the Mets are going to be happy about what they've done with their bullpen, adding Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, and then they got Tobias Myers in that same Freddie Peralta trade.
And then bringing in Luis Garcia and Brian
Yep.
Hudson.
Yeah, I think the setup closer combination of Luke Weaver and Devin Williams, they basically took those guys out of the Yankees bullpen from last year, which is really funny.
Well, and both
Devin
of
Williams,
those guys really struggled last year with the Yankees.
They did, but I think they're gonna bounce back in a big way. And I think we looked at Devin Williams late last season, and we were kind of like, this guy really had an unfortunate year. He still got all the skills in the world, and he's an elite reliever. He's gonna be just fine.
Yeah, I've got no doubts that Devin Williams is going to come back and be a very good reliever again this year. Luke Weaver is one of those where it's very possible that he was a one and done. Because like he's been around for a long time. He's pitched in a lot of different roles, and his biggest success was 2 years ago in the postseason for the Yankees. And even the beginning of that season, he wasn't necessarily incredible. It was down the stretch in the postseason where he really made a name for himself. And like the talent's there. He was a first round pick for the Cardinals way back in 2014, and he stayed in the league. So there's talent there for sure. Whether he can put it together and repeat what he did in the 2024 postseason, I don't have high hopes that he can replicate that, but being a productive reliever does not require you to do that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well, anyways, to wrap up on the Mets, I am fascinated by this team just because of the number of moves and just like the scale of the moves that they made in this offseason. Um, I will be watching a lot of Mets games this year, I think, and I'm trying to get you to watch a bunch of Mets games with me this year. Oh, yep, you got the hat.
Yeah,
This is going to be your team for 2026
I mean,
because
I've got to have a
it's
good
going to
team in
be
2026. It's going to be rough on the
yeah.
other side. So,
And think like even if the Mets like catastrophically implode on themselves, they're going to be an interesting watch. And there's no way that they're like just straight up bad.
yeah.
Um, they just have too much talent to actually like bottom out. But the ceiling's also incredibly high. Like this team could win the division. They could win the World Series, and nobody would be that surprised. I don't know. Like I find this team really fascinating.
I there was only one guy that was on the club before that kept me from really wanting to buy in, and he's
I think
gone
I know who
now.
that is.
And
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names cuz it's unnecessary, but I'm no longer being forcibly kept out of Mets fandom by a rat or a raccoon. Oh, Gotham, are you frozen?
All right. Yep. All right. I'm back.
All right, cool. So we'll probably hit this one a little bit quicker, but we do have one other team. It is the team that I frequently rant about, so I'm gonna try and not do that. And that is the Colorado Rockies. So the Rockies, to their credit, are doing a lot of things this year different from how they've always operated. They went out and got Paul DePodesta back into baseball. So this is the Moneyball guy. They brought him back into baseball to be their president of baseball ops. He has then started to turn this franchise into more of his vision than Dick Monfort's a never-ending train of doing the same thing. I don't. Yeah. So, but he's gone out and added a lot of pieces. He's also moved on from quite a few pieces that have been in this organization for a while. I believe Drew Romo was like one of their top prospects. He got DFA'd. He's been on now 4 different teams this offseason alone.
Michael Tolia, who was like a big sleeper prospect like a year ago, is completely out of the organization. He got DFA'd over the winter. Like they have not been shy about putting their own stamp on this organization, the new regime, and that's a good sign in my opinion because that means like Monfort is not influencing them in a way that's going to hinder their ability to like make decisions, change the club for the better, hopefully. I think everybody wants to see the Rockies be competitive. They're facing a massive uphill battle. They play in one of the hardest divisions. They play in the most difficult environment with Colorado, and it's not going to be easy. But I do feel like I'm encouraged by the moves that they are making, and it's not like they're the one team where I'm not like, why didn't you sign Kyle Tucker? Like that wouldn't make sense. He wouldn't want to sign there, and they're not at that point in their contention.
No, in fact, this is one of those teams where if they signed a big free agent, I would question more why they did it than why they didn't.
Be massive. It would be like some sort of massive overpay, like the Chris Bryant situation.
Yeah.
Or it would have to be like
who is still on the 60-day IL with his lumbar degenerative disc disease, by the way.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate what happened to Chris Bryant's career after he signed with the Rockies.
It is.
Honestly, has nothing to do with the Rockies.
But so I want to start out just kind of recapping the good pieces that the Rockies already had. Because to say that they didn't have anything is unfair. In the past 2 years, Brenton Doyle had a great season and then a not as great season last year, but we know what he can do. He's a great center fielder. If he can start hitting the ball, He could steal bases. Like, he could be an exciting player. Ezekiel Tovar, a really good shortstop for this Rockies team. And then Hunter Goodman, who broke out here, I think last year, right? Was his breakout season?
Yep. Yeah, he
Um,
was our best player by far.
yeah, 26-year-old catcher. He's got some pop, but like just having a steady hitter in the middle of their lineup at an important position is, I think, going to give them some more confidence. And then they go out and make a big move for the Rockies, and they sign Willie Castro. I love that move. I really do. Willie Castro is a solid player. And so bringing him in to play an important position at third base where it had been locked down by Ryan McMahon for years. McMahon now on the Yankees. So Willie Castro comes in, locks down that spot, gives you a veteran with some of these young guys. They claim Troy Johnston off of waivers from Miami. They trade for Jake McCarthy to take over right field. Jake McCarthy kind of just didn't have a spot in Arizona. They trade for Eddie Julian to play second base. Eddie Julian was kind of like a quadruple A type of guy for the Twins. And so now he's got a spot where he can play every day, or platoon, which is what they're kind of expecting here in roster resource. But those are good moves for a bad club.
Yeah, and I see what they're doing. Like the guys that they're targeting, Castro is a good one for any team because he's really versatile. He can play multiple positions. He's also fast, and that's a theme that I saw. Troy Johnston, you're probably not familiar with him, but he was a waiver claim from Miami. He had a breakout minor league season in 2023 where he hit like 24 home runs and had 26 steals. Had a couple down years with injuries, but this guy's like tooled up. He like is super fast. Loves to steal bases. He's the kind of guy you want, like, just you want to give this kind of guy a shot to see if he's like if he can do it at the big league level.
Well, and that's a little bit Jake McCarthy too.
Yeah,
like Jake McCarthy is very fast.
He's like 99th percentile sprint speed. He's the perfect guy for the Colorado outfield next to Brent Doyle. Like that could end up going incredibly well. I want to see Jake McCarthy like racking up these hits because he's so good at putting the bat on the ball. This is the place for it. And then that brings me to my favorite acquisition, I think, is the Edouard Julien, because Edouard Julien had a sort of a breakout when he first debuted with the Twins, and he had come off like multiple awesome minor league seasons. He is an on-base god. And something else interesting about Edouard Julien is he's a BABIP god. You should go check this out. Look at Edouard Julien's BABIPs throughout his careers and in the minor leagues. They're unreal. It's like
and minor leagues.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. 204 plate appearances, 451, 310 plate appearances, 322. So 372 across 514 in 2021. 393 across 508 and 22. 386 at AAA in 23 and 371 in the majors. 358 at AAA in 24. Not very good in the majors. 288 is still decent. But dang.
So what I'm trying to say is like Edouard Julien's baseline hit rate or BABIP is not it's not around 300 like the average player. His is clearly
it's 360, 370.
Yeah, and this is the guy you want playing in Colorado because that's the place that raises BABIP to another level. More than it elevates power, it elevates hits. And I want to see this guy hit there.
And he's also got enough speed to do some damage. Like he hasn't the last couple of years. In 2024, he had 12 total stolen bases, but like in 2021, he had 34. In 2022, he had 19. So like this is a guy that can steal bases. And so I think he'll probably get the leash to do things like that in Colorado.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, like who else is going to play second base for the Rockies? They don't have anyone.
Yeah. In fact, who do they have? They have Ryan Ritter is one of their bench guys that plays infield. Tyler Freeman can play infield, but I don't think he plays second. In the minors, they do have Ariel Amador.
Oh yeah.
So they do have another second baseman, but he did not play as well last year as they had hoped at age 22. Which he's 22, he's still got time, which I think is maybe why they're probably going to drop him down to AAA to start this year, help him get a little bit more, seasoning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, they're the guys that they picked up in Julian, McCarthy, Johnston. Those guys are all kind of prime age, and you use the term quad A for Julian, but I think that describes all three of these guys. It's like, all right, they clearly have some talent, but we don't really know if they're full-time big leaguers. They're probably not, but maybe they are, and you can find out on this 2026 Rockies team that's not going to be good.
Yeah. But I do think this will be a significantly better Rockies team than last year, and we haven't talked about their pitching. Sure. They went out and their rotation is almost entirely different from what it was opening day last year. The only guy left from opening day of last year is Kyle Freeland. So obviously Chase Dolander is still there. He came up early last year, but wasn't there for opening day, if I remember correctly. But then they've added Michael Lorenzen. They've added Jose Quintana. They've added Tomoyuki Sugano. None of these guys are blow your socks off velocity guys, but all three of these guys are well-seasoned veteran pitchers who know what they have. They know how to spin it. And I think that is something that will benefit this Rockies club.
Yeah, totally. I think they're like innings eaters, right? Like they can go out there and they pitch 6 innings. And I don't know, like Jose Quintana, he is magic. His underlying numbers for like the last 3 years have been getting worse and worse and worse, but his like bottom line results remain good. So maybe he's like the guy that cracks the Colorado code.
He might accidentally win a Cy Young.
He might, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like all three of these guys are very, very similar pitchers to me. The only difference with Quintana is he pitches from the left side. But like all three of these guys are like low to mid 90s on their fastball. They've got
Sugano, not even that, right? He's like a slow thrower. Even Quintana now.
I said low
velocity.
Low to mid.
Are they sub 90 if he's lucky. I think Sugano is.
You think Quintana is becoming Dan Herron now, though, too?
He kind of is, yeah.
Oh, gosh. Wait, can we get Dan Herron out of retirement to sign with the Rockies?
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be. I throw 68.
Let's get Ubaldo Jimenez while we're at it.
I would love to get Ubaldo back. But yeah, and then the other things or the other acquisitions here that we should probably talk about is the Rockies actually went out and got a couple of relievers that have done stuff. These aren't just guys that have come up through their system. They're guys who have pitched in other organizations pretty well. They got Brennan Bernardino from Boston in a trade. They added Keegan Thompson, who I believe was in the Cubs organization and then was in Cincinnati, and now he is here. They've also claimed RJ Petit in the Rule 5 draft from Detroit, so he's going to be there probably the whole season so they could keep him. So they've made some changes here, and I think it's going to be one of those that it's probably not going to pan out. They're probably not going to win 75 games, which I think would be like in a perfect world.
They're success.
Yeah, like I think this is a team that could avoid losing 100.
Yeah, no, I think that would honestly would be a step forward. That would be.
That'd be a 20 win increase over last year if they don't lose 100. So
yeah, you can't really expect for a lot more than a 20 win increase. So that's success.
Yeah, and so I'm glad you did make me look at the Rockies here because I do like what they've done. I think this is maybe the best offseason they've had in probably 15 years because they've got the right expectations for themselves while also working to improve long-term and short-term.
Yeah.
So like it's a very anti-Rockies offseason.
Yep.
Julio. That was way longer than I think we intended for it to go. Sorry, that's my fault. But yeah,
all right.
That is our look at 3 of the teams with the biggest changes this year in 2026. We will be back next week with some more analysis on all things baseball. So until then, have a good one. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Getaway Day Pod. If you enjoy card collecting, check out our sister YouTube channel at Getaway Day Cards.